The show is still Report Desk Africa, and the station is News Central TV. And these are the things that I do that makes Blessings call me a spare tire on the show.
It's fine because you're not consistent.
Well, I'm trying to get back to being used to the show. So, if you're just joining us, we're about to sink our phalanges into the meat of the matter, like I like to say. And here is how we start. Now, the increase in fuel price has sent shockwaves down the spines of Nigerians, and through the Nigerian economy, the hike has already triggered a surge in transportation costs, food items, and budgets impacting the daily lives of millions of Nigerians. Just before we introduce our guests, Blessings, let me ask you. Let me just quickly ask, as ordinary Nigerians, as we like to call ourselves, you and I basically, are at the receiving end of this recurring harsh situation. How has this affected your daily life? And this is one question I asked almost everybody I interviewed in the past 3-4 days.
Bruh, I don't even want to. I know how much my budget for fuel per month used to be. But now I'm still living in denial because I can't even bring myself to calculate what it will be with the now official price of the NNPC being at 800 and what now. But anyways, enough about me. We gathered a few reactions from Nigerians, so we would like to take a look at that as well.
I've been here to see. We are still on queue. We don't know what is happening. What are we benefiting from government itself? Tell me what we are benefiting from government. We don't benefit anything. What we have has become another thing for us. I've been here. Last week Friday, I was at queue. Some few cars ahead of me. They said where I finished. Since morning, I left the filling station by 2 o'clock.
This kind of suffering in this Nigeria is much to us. Even go to market, food items now, we can't even dare. We can't buy everything in this country now. Everybody is tired.
I'm the breadwinner of my family. If my family they suffer, how one day I send them money? How will I cope? Okay, now fuel won't increase. How will it be about food stuff? How much they want to sell food now for Nigeria? They suffer the poor masses. Why? Why is God? Do you have government now? We get government now like this. We get government.
It's a very sad situation out there, and as much as we're trying to make light of it, it's not funny in any way because people are suffering. And we all know as Nigerians that once there's a fuel situation, either scarcity or hiking price, it affects every other thing. It's like a ripple effect. So there's also that impending fear that we don't know what the prices of food, prices of transportation will be. I mean, people are already even experiencing tripled price from last night till up until this morning. But right now, we're joined by our correspondent in Abuja, Joshua Imarayi, and of course, our correspondent in Jos, Chizoba Anyiowe, who have been following the situation. Thank you so much, Joshua and Chizoba, for joining us. All right, before you guys joined, Bernard asked me a question, and although I answered, I would like to hear your experiences as well. Bernard was also on the streets almost throughout covering, in Lagos, covering the situation. So I want to hear what your opinion of how people are reacting to this is. I'm going to start with Joshua and then Chizoba and then Bernard. Joshua, what has been the situation for the people in the FCT, especially seeing how the FCT is the seat of power, and if anything should work, it should start from the FCT, but the reverse is actually the case. What has the situation been like for the people there?
Since the beginning of this quagmire of the fuel scarcity, the living situation here has degenerated from normal to worse because they are currently lamenting the increase in fuel price. That this seems to be a trend in Nigeria. When there seems to be an increase in the price of fuel, it is marked by the scarcity, which is currently ongoing now. And they are quite shocked that it is coming at this particular time when the hopes are high that the Dangote refinery, which is experiencing a rollout of the petroleum product, they were thinking that it would solve the situation, but rather it is rather complicating the entire situation because there seems to be no hope in sight. The transportation cost has increased, food prices increased, even medicine prices, they've increased too. Now they are complaining that if this should be the case, why are we boasting that Nigeria has a large deposit of crude oil when we don't have anything to show for it? This seems to be the plight of average Nigerians on the street and even ordinary Nigerians even in the street too. they are basically complaining, and they are crying to the government to send aid to remedy the entire situation, hoping that there will be a bright light at the end of the tunnel. But now there seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel, because the things are getting worse and worse every day.
Right. Chizoba, I'd like to hear from you as well, especially for the people in Jos. I have a sister in Jos, and we're having a conversation, and that was last week, where I was saying, oh, we usually queue for fuel at the NNPC here in Lagos, and at least when you queue for long hours, you know that you're getting your fuel for 568. That was when it was 568. And then she was like, was it ever 568? Because in Jos over there, they don't have anything 500 or 600 or even 700. They usually buy from 800 and above. So what is the situation there with the people of Jos? How are they taking this?
Welcome to Jos, the home office on tourism. Unfortunately, some people would say the peace is not peaceful because of course, the economic turndown we are experiencing here, and not just in Jos Plateau State. It is everywhere in the country, and so it has also brought everything almost to a stand where people are lamenting on every side of the divide. You know, poverty, they say, doesn't know a Christian, doesn't know a Muslim, doesn't know the poor or the rich and all that. So it cuts across everywhere and every person. Unfortunately, it is that sad. And majorly, people will tell you that once there's a problem with the price of petrol, you know, it affects every other price of commodities in the market. And of course, goods and services are not taken away from this. So people have been wailing, people are lamenting, especially motorists, you know. Day before yesterday, even yesterday again, I was on the streets of Jos to feel the pulse of people, especially motorists. They're the ones that bear the brunt of this situation. And they are saying this is sad. In fact, one of my respondents said that it is unpardonable for government officials, because this is not what Nigerians expect from them. This is not what their manifesto said. And so why are we receiving this in this manner? You know, so many people find it difficult to afford for their daily meals these days, not to talk about the hike in petrol price. I mean, it's something else. Just yesterday, I personally bought per liter 950 naira. This morning, a colleague of mine also said he bought at 999 naira. I mean, that's 1,000 naira we're talking about here. And a few days ago, it was 720 and 750, because it cuts across different filling stations. And so why is this the case? And yet, sadly, Nigeria is one of the major countries that produce crude oil. So why should we have this kind of situation at hand? I mean, it's uncalled for. We're not supposed to talk about this, you know. Now it is a major thing on our table. Everybody is bearing the brunt of this issue. And so the fact that it is now trickling down on every other issue out there is making it very, very worse. Unfortunately, we seem to have our hands tied. We can't even do anything about it. The NNPC mega station that people usually go back on, you don't have to say what I heard ago was like that he sometimes asks himself the kind of spirit, the kind of courage and faith he had the day he went to join the queue. Because, I mean, it took like the whole day. He didn't go to work. He didn't have to do any other thing for the day. He just spent the whole day there. And guess what? He couldn't even buy the petrol at the end of the day. That's how sad it is, you know. Now, these days, what they do is go there, park their cars, and then by evening, say 6 p.m., thereabouts, they all go back home. And then the next morning, they return to the glory of God if they still have their cars intact, you know, and then they continue from there. It's such a very sad situation. It is indeed.
Chizoba, for that. Now, I also want to find out from Bernard. I mean, if you know Lagos well, you know that is like the epicenter of traffic congestion. So adding this problem of fuel scarcity and, of course, the price hike, it's now looking like people would rather queue for fuel than go to work. And I've seen so many people make that compromise. And the employers can't exactly do anything because the employers are also on the queue. So, Bernard, what has been the situation lately, especially the reaction to the recent update in the prices of fuel?
You know, I think, first of all, I'll start by saying it's the audacity of the people in government for me to not, at this point, come out to say anything or give any official statement as to why exactly the prices have gone up, what the official prices are now, what we can do, if at all there's anything that they can do. By saying we, I mean them now, you know, to resolve this issue. It was a back and forth for quite a while, you know, and then there were speculations that the price was going to go up, and then eventually it did go up with no official statement. As a matter of fact, social media was where people started seeing price changes, you know, and then we, the journalists, had to go out to check each fuel station, and then as at Tuesday, you know, some fuel stations just completely stopped selling. And then there were queues as long as 2 kilometers in front of these fuel stations, but nobody was selling anything. And then the next day, we just said that they pretty much were waiting for confirmation that prices had changed. And then when they got that confirmation, they began to sell according to how much they lift from wherever they lift from, or according to the kind of profit they think is okay to make. But again, it's the complete disregard for the Nigerian people, for me, from the powers that be, for not actually putting out a statement, for not counting us worthy, you know, of getting some kind of official information stating that the prices of petrol, you know, pump price of petrol per liter would increase at so-so time from so-so amount to so-so amount for so-so and so reason. Just increase the price and then, you know, we just get on with our lives. Sadly, I did ask certain people questions on the queue. Will you buy for the new price? People said they had no choice. Just like Chizoba and Joshua have said, Nigeria is a country that literally runs on petrol. You know, so you want to make your hair, you have to, and then, well, power is not constant, so you have a generator that runs on petrol for the hairdressers, for the barbers, for the plumbers, for the dry cleaners, for everything. And then for normal Nigerians like us who have to drive our cars. So depending on the kind of tank you're using, or the capacity of your fuel tank in your car, you're not seeing yourself moving from, back in the day, about 12,000 naira full tank to 35, 40,000 naira full tank to almost, for some people, 70,000 naira full tank. And one thing that's common that many of them have said is the prices have gone up, but salaries remain the same.
Exactly. Exactly. Look, it's honestly so sad. You see this thing you talked about, people saying that they had no choice, right? I remember we're having this conversation in my area, and then a lot of people were going to queue for fuel, not because they wanted to use the fuel and then come back. A lot of people are queuing to buy the fuel and park it at home. Now, it's a situation of cutting costs, in the sense that as much as you can, people are now trying to find alternatives. I know someone who had not entered a public transport for like 5 years. The person is already asking, how do I connect this to this by bus? How do I connect? Because no matter how high the prices of public transport have gone, it will still save you from buying 70,000 naira almost every week. It's so bad that people are talking about communal driving, in the sense that in your compound, everybody fills their tank, and then you use one car as a school bus until So I never would have thought that we'll get to this point, honestly, and it's honestly very terrible. But I'm going to ask Joshua very quickly. Now, according to your findings so far, I want to know, are there issues related to supply, demand, or government policies? I know for a fact that this thing Bernard said about utter disregard for the people from the powers that be. I remember that just last week, there was, at first it started off as rumors. You know, it always starts with rumors that the NNPC was owing 6-point-something billion, and then the NNPC outrightly denied it, and then eventually came out and said, oh, actually, yeah, we're owing. So does it have anything to do with government policies? What is the case? Joshua, the question's for you.
In fact, the NNPC is now limited. We'll quite understand that, but the government has... yes, I can hear you clearly. But it is clear that the NNPC is now limited, but we must understand still that the government has shares here, and the government is actually, and the president is actually the Minister of Petroleum as we speak now. It shows the major role that the government have to play now. But there seems to be a deafening silence from the part of the NNPC that it is only when accusations are made against them that they only come out to talk. But now They have not issued any official statement as regards the increase in petroleum price. They've not said anything. And even they according to what the people is saying, that they've not even heard that there seems to be an increase of the pump price of fuel across the country. Nobody's saying anything. The president is not saying anything. And for a fact now that the Dangote refinery now, the people behind the Dangote refinery, they are saying that the Federal Executive Council will be the one responsible for putting a price tag on the petroleum, the dispensary price at filling stations. There seems to be some sort of disorganization from the stakeholders who are involved in this particular process of determining the price of petroleum products. Now, as much as this might seem that the situation is gradually spiraling out of control, the citizens here, they seem to be lacking that trust in the government. And now, for a fact, now the NNPC, the GMD of the NNPC cannot come out and say anything, and you expect Nigerians to believe him hook, line, and sinker. That whether you like it or not, these Nigerians, they think that these people at the helm of affairs don't have their own interests at heart. They are always saying that the only interest that these persons have or these people have is only the profit they seem to be making from this product. Now the fact that we don't really know the details concerning how much the dispensaries or the suppliers are selling this product, and how much the landing cost will be, or how much the suppliers are buying, or even how much the petroleum the sellers in the petroleum what is it called, the filling station are selling. Now there seems to be a disorganization and lack of information. Now this is actually building the lack of trust in the citizens, and it is not encouraging at all for them, according to what they said.
Right. I'm glad that you mentioned trust, because I also want to ask everyone the political impact of the fuel price hike. Bernard mentioned the utter silence this period, and of course this has, affected the popularity of the government and the ruling party, the new administration. We've had this issue since the new administration assumed office. So very quickly, I'm going to ask Bernard to start with. How do you think this has affected the political structure of the country?
I'll start by saying there are people that we actually did speak to, people I spoke to, I interviewed on the streets of Lagos. And in this case, I decided to go down to the grassroots, right? The commercial bus drivers, the commercial motorcycle riders, Okada riders, the people buying in kegs, not those who look so good and who were driving fancy cars, to hear what these people had to say. There were those who were speaking in Yoruba particularly, and were saying, and then I'll interpret what they said. The man clearly said to me, I regret my Yoruba is not fantastic. But this translates to, we regret that we voted for them. We voted and now we're not hearing anything. Everything is going up. Just like all of us have said on the show, people have been recounting how the significant increase in the price of petrol would affect everything else. Like Blessing said, it's a ripple effect, and that's how the people have been complaining. So it doesn't look good on the government, to be honest. First of all, like I said, that there's an utter disregard and radio silence as to what exactly is causing this and what is going on. It also doesn't look good on the government that this same government campaigned back in the day with increase in fuel price. If you remember, this same government complained and campaigned with the hardship that the people were facing. And now it's just been over a year since this government came in, and the cost of petrol has tripled, if you like. We do know that at some point the president said that fuel subsidy had to go because it was one of the biggest scams that was eating into the marrow of Nigeria. But then if fuel subsidy was going to go, what was supposed to be the cushion that Nigerians would have for this fall that they were going to take? And now we truly have fallen so deep. So clearly it doesn't look good on the cloak of the government. Yeah.
Anyway, very quickly, Chizoba, I want to ask you, you are in the north, and we know that goods are transported from there a lot of times. So if we're to project for the foreseeable future, what impact do you think this would have on the transportation of goods from the north, and even getting goods within the north?
Your guess is as good as mine in this aspect, because over time, Plateau, Jos especially, has been known for a place you grow most of these special, let me use the word special, food stuff, like your Irish potato, like your cucumber, and some other vegetables. It used to be the whole these beautiful foods, vegetables, and all those. But today, even those of us living here in Jos are all Because farmers can't even transport their goods from the villages, from their farms to the city where they could sell them and make their money. They can't because the cost of transportation, as people like that said earlier, I mean, it's something that no one can even fathom. No one can understand it. That we used to buy, let's say, a portion of Irish potato used to be like 300 naira. Yes, it may be laughable to say, but that is actually the truth. Used to be 300, 500, and then when it's out of season, you could buy as much as 1,000, 1,500. But now, even when it is in season, you cannot get it for less than 3,000 naira. And so that's not portion like now, like I am talking to you right now. It is 3,000 naira. In some places, it is 4,000 naira. And that is in Jos, in Plateau State. So imagine someone that wants to buy from the east or from the west or the far north, and then you're coming to Jos, to Plateau State, to buy this. At the end of the day, by the time you put up what you have spent on transportation and the profit margin you want to put on it and everything, I mean, it won't be sold less than, let's say, 7,000, 8,000, or even 10,000 naira, as the case may be. So that is the situation we find ourselves in now. So it is not just motorists suffering this because they are the ones actually that have to be on the queues, spend the whole day, feel the hunger, the pain, and of course the anger. They say a hungry man is an angry, yes. An angry man, or rather.
Yes, Chizoba, thank you so much. I really appreciate your input. And of course, this will be a good place to land the conversation. We cannot completely end the conversation, but at least because of the time that we have on this show, we're going to stop for now. Thank you so much, Chizoba Anyiowe, giving us updates from Plateau State, Jos, and of course, Joshua Imarayi from the FCT, and my co-host Bernard, who has been covering and has had his eyes and ears in Lagos State. We go on a short break now. We still report Desk Africa, and when we come back, we're going to be looking at another aspect of the entire situation of the country in terms of governance, and it's not looking good for the country. So stay with us.